make some steady progress, kicking off first with an expansion on the king side. H5, H4, and now knight to C8, the beginning of a very nice maneuver. I haven't pointed this out yet, but this bishop has been suffering from tall pawn syndrome. He does not belong there. The most efficient piece to blockade the d5 pawn is a knight. Why? Well, he's not completely defensive like the bishop, for one. He's actually a very good attacking piece, putting pressure on the e4 and c4 points. So, this is what we're going to have, g4. The queen is getting out of the way, so the bishop can go to a much more active diagonal, and the knight can simply drop into d6. This is a wonderful way to reposition the pieces. Very, very instructive. King to g1, again, a lot of nothing moves by white. The knight's looking for c3, knight d6, bishop to h6, rook to f1. That move is very difficult. I just do not know what in the world is going on with rook to a8. I guess maybe anticipating some break over here or some pressure against a4. I cannot really say what's going on with that move. So we see a shift in this evaluation, by the way. It's in the negatives now. Stockfish is not liking its position, and it's just going to get worse. So we have the king coming over towards the center with still all this traffic on board. May seem a little bit crazy to do this, but there is some security with the king being on the e6 square. So bishop for knight exchange. Not sure how good the bishops are in these locked positions. Really the key pieces in this position are the knights, and let's take these posts into account. Knight comparison, who's doing better? It's definitely the black knight. He's putting pressure on the white pieces that require the defense of white pieces. Meanwhile, this knight is staring at his own pawns and squares that he's never going to be able to successfully jump into. These forward moves by the white knight are all no good. Either illegal or just, he's negated very easily. White is on the defensive. White also, if we compare the king positions, is much better off. The white king stands on a half-open file for black. Meanwhile, the black king is on a closed file. Black has a much more secure king and will find it much easier to shift pieces now over towards the king side of the board. What will the white king do? Let's find out. Bishop to e8, queen h7. It's just anticipating rook g3, so we're going to have some major pieces coming off. One rook, and now a second rook. The queen's in minor pieces. Queen is looking to invade. Knight to d2 prevents this. A growing advantage, as we can see from the Stockfish 8 engine I'm running. King h2. King to d7 is probably the better square, staying on a light square. So he's not going to ever move and give check. So white tries to make some progress over here on the queen side with a pawn move. This is not helping this pawn. He's still, both of these guys here are still going to remain weak. So queen to g6. You have to defend e4, so knight there. And that is blocking the queen side of d1, so black's able to now sneak the bishop in, well behind enemy lines here. Looking for some maneuver. Bishop to a4. At any point, if white is not careful, this bishop can get into position to maybe hunt down the c4 pawn. So the white pieces constantly have to keep a watchful eye over these points. It's all because of this knight on d6, that great reposition that we saw heading into the d6 square. So how do things progress here? We're eventually going to have a queen exchange, and now this king is way out of play, and without the queen around, these guys easily fall to both the bishop and knight. They can be attacked twice, and there can only ever be one defender, and he's it. Meanwhile, wherever this bishop goes, he's just biting on rocks. What do? Attack e5, attack f5, does nothing. So what is tried is this little breaking up type thing, softening up the c5 square. White's trying to get at this point, but the knight is there, prepared to meet a5 with knight takes pawn, keeping the structure as is, in other words. Eventually, we're going to have these pawns drop. There isn't a good way to defend. c6 break is in. This is what I meant by one of the moves in black's position, a simple recapture, which is really not like a move in black's position.